Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. For this week's video, I thought I would sit down and go through the pros and cons of becoming an English teacher in Taiwan. This was actually requested by one of my subscribers, so thank you. I thought this was a great idea, so I'm excited for this week's video. We'll go ahead and jump right in and get started with the pros. I've gone in detail about some of these points in previous videos, but we'll briefly go through them again today. So I will start with the first pro, and that is the benefits that are awarded to you. I think the salary is pretty fair compared to the cost of living in Taiwan, as well as compared to the amount of experience that's required. I had never taught before moving to Taiwan, as well as the vacation and time off that you're given throughout the year. We get summer vacations, we get winter vacation, all national holidays, as well as 14 of my own personal and sick days that I can take at any time throughout the year. My school specifically, well, the program that I went through specifically also gives me a flight reimbursement. So if I want to go home during the summer, they will reimburse me for those flights. I'd say the second pro kind of goes hand in hand with this, but it would be the quality of life. Again, I've mentioned this in a previous video, but the salary compared to the cost of living, it allows me to live very comfortably here and still have extra funds at the end of the month. So I have been able to accumulate a nice amount of savings since I've moved here. I also just have a life outside of work. I can actually have hobbies and, you know, just immerse myself into different projects and, you know, different interests, explore different interests that I don't think I really had the time to do prior to moving abroad. I say the third pro to being an English teacher in Taiwan is my work-life balance as well as work environment. Again, I work in the public schools. The requirements to be able to teach here were very minimal. I didn't have to have any experience. My bachelor's degree was not in teaching, and I was still able to get a job here. I am teaching very small children English as a second language, so the content is very basic, it's very beginner, and so my work expectations are not really high. So as long as I show up to work, I'm on time, and I'm prepared, that's really all my school is asking of me. I can leave work at work. I've never had to bring it home with me, and when I clock out for the day or the weekend or for holidays, I am done. I don't have to worry about it. The next pro, I think this is number 4 or 5, I'm not sure, but I would say the job gets easier over time. For someone like me, I didn't have any prior teaching experience when I moved here, so starting out was a little overwhelming. It was a little difficult, but over time, now I'm on my 3rd year, and every semester has just gotten easier and easier. Again, the content that you're teaching is really beginner. The schools typically use the same syllabi and the same books every year. So now that I have lesson plans from my previous years, I can just reuse those. Now I have a blueprint to go off of, and I don't have to start from scratch. I can just go in and kind of tweak things from here and there. Again, lesson planning and preparation doesn't take nearly as long as it did when I first started. I have 2 more pros. So the second to last one is the personal growth that I have experienced as an individual. Becoming a teacher, you will learn a lot of life skills that are applicable in and out and outside of the work environment. I am, you know, naturally just a lot more patient with myself as well as others. I'm a lot more flexible and a lot more fluid, just because when you're working with children, things can change at the drop of a dime. So I've really gotten comfortable with you know, thinking outside of the box as well as just thinking on my toes. And I would say even just with living abroad, I'm naturally a lot more open-minded. There have been a lot of learning curves along the way. And I think when you become a teacher, it takes a lot of practice and it takes a lot of trial and error. And I will say the last pro is, of course, the kids. The children are the best part of the job. They are so funny. I think they're hilarious. They're so curious and they watch every little thing that I do. So we laugh a lot in my class, we joke around, we play a lot of games, and there's always there's something new every day. I think becoming a teacher is extremely purposeful. I think that's one of the biggest pros of becoming a teacher, is the impact that I will leave on them, as well as the impact that they have left on me. So we will now move on to the cons of becoming a teacher in Taiwan. Of course, these are based off of my own personal experiences and opinions. They're really all about a perspective, so some of them don't necessarily even need to be cons, but for the sake of this video, I guess these are kind of things to just be aware of before becoming an English teacher. So we'll go ahead and get started with those. I think number one being there's very limited room for growth and advancements in terms of your career. Although I do enjoy my job, it's not something that I see myself doing for the next 10, 15, or 20 years. I enjoy Taiwan, I enjoy living here, but if there were something else that I'd want to do, I don't think I really have the option to do that. Most foreigners that are here are either English teachers, or they are students or engineers. For someone like me who likes change and I like to kind of be challenged sometimes, that is a con for me, to know that as long as I stay at my job, this is what I would be doing a year from now, 2 years from now, and so on and so forth. So I will go into the second con, which is unfortunately the language barrier. Again, most of my students don't speak English, and I unfortunately don't speak Chinese. So that is very unfortunate in the classrooms, because it's really hard to establish relationships with my students. Once the students are finally comfortable with you and they're interested in you, they want to ask you questions, or they just look to you as an adult, or depend on you as an adult, it's really unfortunate that I can't communicate with them and have, you know, little conversations with them here and there. I've even had some of my younger students in the 2nd grade ask the co-teacher, why doesn't teacher Nini speak Chinese? Or why doesn't she understand me? So that is really unfortunate. I really wish I could get to know my students a little more. And this is also a big thing as a teacher. My students' English abilities are on all different levels. I have some that, you know, don't know any English at all, and some, you know, are pretty fluent in English. When it comes to lesson planning, I have to get really strategic and really creative and make sure that every learner is included. And so I don't have some students that are bored or some students that are discouraged because the work is too hard. So that gets better with time. Again, being a teacher is all about trial and error, how to get through to the students even with such a strong language barrier. The third con kind of relates to a language barrier, but classroom management and discipline was definitely difficult for me when I first got started. So with discipline, it can be very difficult sometimes, and it can take a lot longer for me to get their attention compared to when the co-teachers or their homeroom teachers want to get their attention. Again, with trial and error, it gets better. You'll figure out what works and what doesn't work. You'll start to learn how to react to the different personalities from your students. But again, with the language barrier, it can be pretty difficult. I say the next con, this is probably something all teachers deal with. I probably would deal with this even if I was teaching in America, but materials can be really limited and really scarce. I teach a lot of classes. Each class has 24 to 26 students, so I have to get a little creative with my lesson planning sometimes. Just to give you guys a better idea of my schedule, I have 21 classes every week. So I teach all of the 6th graders. There's 8 6th grade classes. I have 8 4th grade classes, and I have 5 2nd grade classes. So I only have to make 3 lesson plans for the week, and then I will teach those lesson plans multiple times. With materials, it's difficult, you know, just for something as simple as a worksheet. If I want to do a worksheet with my 4th graders, I have to print out 26 copies for 8 classes. That's not really an option, especially on a consistent basis. Or with rewards, the kids are really competitive. They like to be rewarded for their participation in class. But if I want to bring them like treats or little prizes for their work, I have to buy a lot of stuff. And of course, as teachers everywhere know, that is coming out of pocket. There have been plenty of times I've come to class and I have everything prepared and the projector's not working, or the computer's not working, or the sound and audio isn't working, and I've had to literally pull things out of a hat in order to get through 40 minutes of class. So again, it's all about perspective. On the contrary of that, like I said before, I've learned to really be flexible and fluid, but there also, I guess, is a con to that depending on how you want to look at your glass, whether it's half full or half empty. I would say the last con to being an English teacher in Taiwan is I personally feel like it is hard to see the work and progress that you put in with the students. Sometimes it's hard to see it through. Because I'm a foreign teacher in general, sometimes I get the feeling that this class is not taken as seriously as their other classes, you know, that they have with their homeroom teachers. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Sometimes I feel like the mascot that parents will hire for their kids' birthday party. You know, when kids have birthday parties and they hire like the princess or the superhero to come dressed up and entertain the kids. And so yeah, sometimes it could feel like I'm kind of babysitting, or you get the feeling that they just want you to entertain the students. They want the kids to have fun in your class, which is no problem. We play a lot of games, we have a lot of activities, but because I'm teaching the same lesson over and over again to a large group of students, I still have to put some systems in place. There's no way I could go into class and just completely wing it or just completely have fun all the time, because I see over, I think, 500 students every week. They know Teacher Nini's class, you know, most of the time they're gonna come in and have fun, but there's still certain levels of respect and systems that you have to put in place, because there's just way too many students for one teacher, and you will be exhausted if you don't have some kind of plan. But just like any other job, you have your days. Those days are not often. For the most part, I thoroughly enjoy my job. It's definitely been purposeful for me. I think if you are considering becoming an English teacher, I would really, really hope that you enjoy children in some aspect. These are children, they're really, really small kids, and they're learning things for the first time. They're looking at everything that you do. I hope that you all understand that as well, that this is something that is really important. And even with all the pros that come with the job and the benefits, if you really don't enjoy teaching, or if you don't enjoy children, those pros will not be enough. I think, again, that's the biggest reward, is that I genuinely enjoy being around the children. I genuinely enjoy interacting with them. And although some days are, you know, difficult or frustrating, for the most part, I do enjoy it, and it is rewarding. So that is why I am still here. And yeah, I think that sums up this video. I hope that was helpful to anyone who is considering moving abroad and becoming a teacher. If you have any questions or suggestions for other videos, please feel free to leave them down below. And yes, as always, thank you so much. If you are still here watching and listening, thank you. I appreciate it so much, and I will see you guys next time.